last, we've made it. Thank you, everyone, for your patience yesterday as we struggled to get the feeds. And even this morning, I'm starting early because we still had trouble with the feeds, but I shared them. So here we are at last. Somehow the show's only showing up on State of the Spark group, which is fine. Let's do this thing, man. Are you guys ready for today? I know I am. I'm super pumped about today. Because I had 2 days to think about this message, and I think it's even better. And we're talking about what is the divine moment? What is the right moment for your mission? What's the right moment for you to step out, leap out, and accomplish and take massive action for your mission? Now, some of you might feel like, I'm going to fight my way out of a paper bag. Maybe that could be the thing. Some of you might be thinking, oh my God, the day. Oh, the problems I have to solve. How do I even have the bandwidth to take any action whatsoever towards my mission? We're going to talk about that. But before that, I think we have some of the craziest other news that I've seen for a long time. And I was super pumped to touch on this news yesterday. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to share this news. I'm going to cut this thing off and save it for my people. And that's you. We're going to save other news for you. And this is crazy stuff. Elon's girlfriend selling art in so much time that's digital, and what's going on with that. Let me make a note here to myself because I got to share you this other aspect of what's going on with these freaking things. And it's an entire layer of society worth talking about. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on how a crazy group of cephalopods passed a human intelligence test. Yes, you heard it right. Cephalopods. I just love saying that word. If Marissa's watching, I'm saying that word for her. Cephalopods. And then, of course, we're going to talk about how to read a 300-year-old letter without tearing it. Of course. But before all of that, you know what we're going to do. We're going to cover some other news. In other news. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to cover Cup of Gratitude. So this morning, pull up your cups, get your tea, sit down with me here this morning. I know I'm starting a little early. Most of you people, I've programmed that you don't even dial in until 6:40 or 6:45. Well, I'm pattern interrupting. FYI, what I'm grateful for this morning is two things. Number one, pattern interrupts. We're going to talk briefly about pattern interrupts, and that's this. Monks do this thing where they walk and then clap and surprise their acolytes. Why do they do that? Pattern interrupts. You see, we as a human species like to get into habits because it's psychologically easier. But yesterday's pattern interrupt, when the feeds weren't working, I couldn't figure out what to do, and I looked a little awkward. I feel that, man. Like, what am I doing? And then dialing up today and even finding that same problem, but pivoting this morning to fix that problem. Pattern interrupts make us pay attention to the moment. So this morning, one of the things I'm grateful for is pattern interrupts. The other thing I'm grateful for is my lovely wife, Marissa. Marissa just finished her hike with four other lovely ladies. They started with a larger group. That group got whittled down a little bit, and they've been hiking in the backwoods of Florida, pioneering, trailblazing. And I'm grateful that Marissa's out there pattern interrupting herself. There's highs and lows. If you've ever taken a trip and you love that trip so much and came back, you've seen the lows of returning from a trip. You've had the highs of those sorts of trips, of course. But those dynamisms are what make us energetic, powerful, awesome people. So I'm grateful for my wife that she is out there pioneering and trailblazing for her lovely ladies. So that is what I'm grateful for. Pattern interrupts and my lovely wife. Here's to you guys, and here's to a warm cup of morning gratitude. Yeah, man. So in other news, part one, crazy other news. You might have even seen a headline on this because it's starting to make mainstream news. Elon Musk's girlfriend or baby mama, Grimes, yes, the musician, sold $6 million of art in 20 minutes. Now, if that's not crazy enough, the crazier part about this story is that it's cryptocurrency. What's known as a Nifty, or a non-fungible token. Nifties, or NFTs, are non-fungible tokens. This means that they verify that something is not a duplicate. And in the world of art, this is super, super important. If you think about a piece of art, you could just print off that art and it could be printed and copied multiple times. But what if you could make that digital copy, ensure that it pays you a commission every time? I'm willing to bet that NFTs overtake the stock imagery market within a year. So long story short, Grimes put together a collaborative of 10 pieces of artwork. Now, she happens to already have a huge following, so there is some reasons behind why Grimes would sell out $6 million in art in 20 minutes. But she already has a huge following, but she did a collaboration with another digital artist, and they created a series of 10 pieces called War Nymph. The highest selling of these pieces was $389,000. Now, let's time out here. Marissa said, man, this excess is ridiculous. I said, well, why? And she said, because these are digital pieces of art that don't exist anywhere but digitally. There's NFTs, or Nifties, on the crypto marketplace that are pairs of shoes. Check out the marketplace OpenSea. That's OpenSea.io, OpenSea.io. And I even released my first experimental piece of art there because, for those of you who don't know, I paint a lot, and I'm actually experimenting how Nifties and crypto can be a whole market for me. And what we found is you can control every copy. You could get 1% every time your art is sold or resold. There's a lot going on. In fact, Kings of Leon just this week also launched their own NFT, as has Imogen Heap. Now, they're all experimenting with copyright and making sure they're getting compensated. But there's really interesting performance art going on with this. In the case of Banksy, there was a Banksy print that there's only one of. They actually took it, copied it, created an NFT around it, and then burned it publicly in real life to show that things that are virtual will continue to have more value. This performance art, and it's not just performance art, it's real art. It's calling out a simple fact of art, and that is this: these things only exist in our mind. Value only has value in our mind. Even in the case of like high-end sneakers, the idea is, well, I could wear them, but the idea is you never do. And that company, Nike, will still print off another 1,000 of them. And they're experimenting now with virtual sneakers that cost tens of thousands of dollars and are being sold and resold because they're experimenting with the concept of these things having value digitally only. Now, you can also upload real world value into these things, as is the case with the Kings of Leon. They did sell like a finite amount of backstage, like golden ticket passes to some of their things. So there is experimentation going on with off-world and on-world, or virtual and non-virtual value, as well as I will be doing with some of my pieces in some of the series that I'm going to drop in the OpenSea marketplace only. And it's the only copies you'll ever have. And the first X amount of users will actually receive physical real world prints. But if it gets sold, resold, used as clip art, whatever, I'll actually get compensated for that as well. So experimenting with that sort of thing. So it's very interesting. If you care to learn more, as well as the Banksy art that is being burned publicly, you can check it out here. There you go. Boom. And you can learn more about what a NFT, aka a Nifty, is in the world of crypto. So Grimes getting all the richer, and yes, to Marissa's case, bleh, but there's something to learn here in the crypto space. So this cup is not a cup of gratitude. This is a cup of respect, Grimes, that you were able to launch that. But I think the lesson is still strong here. The only thing we have is our brand and our reach. That's all we ever have. And as things become more and more digital, we'll see that. Marissa, if you're watching in bed somewhere, my lovely, let's actually look at how crypto can help in the non-copyrighted photo space with micropayments. We should check that out. So, other news number 2, cephalopods that are passing human intelligence tests. So yes, Marissa has always believed that octopi and other cephalopods might be an alien species. Very well could be. Their bodies adjust to pressure so they can go to the bottom of the ocean and it not affect their body. They've got 8 arms. Who wouldn't want 8 arms? So I could be doing this and still like giving myself coffee while my hands are going. Of course we want 8 arms. So 6 cuttlefish in an experiment were tested with 2 types of food. One type of food was a raw king prawn. The other type of food was a live grass shrimp. The live grass shrimp is a type of food that cuttlefish are known to love way more than the raw king prawn. These cuttlefish were put together, and after a few minutes of interacting with the cuttlefish and doing hand gestures about which one do you want, they learned that if they could wait up to 2 minutes, they would receive the live grass shrimp, the one they prefer the most. And these 6 cuttlefish would actually be seen to hold each other back and teach each other to wait as a group. Delayed gratification is a sign of intelligence amongst humans. Delayed gratification, to wait to get a better reward. You might have seen a similar experiment with grade school children on up to the age of 6, 7, and 8. That if they could, they were allowed to eat the marshmallow. But if they waited to eat the marshmallow, they would get all of these other goodies. Nearly half of them couldn't wait and would just eat the marshmallow because they didn't necessarily trust that they would get the goodies later. So cephalopods are passing this test equal to and sometimes better than children, human children. So we are witnessing, I don't know if cephalopods, specifically cuttlefish, have always been this intelligent or if this is a recent development. But no matter what you think about it, it's a sign that we are actually learning that species around us are far more intelligent than we first thought. There's the article right there. That's a lovely cuttlefish. And you can check that out to see how cuttlefish are exhibiting human levels of intelligence. We already know this from orangutans and many other primate species. And Marissa just simply says, as she does from her cozy bed or the shower back there, just simply, aliens. You're not lying. Maybe they were the ones who seeded us on the planet and they're curating us to be consumed when global warming melts the oceans and we're all up to our neck deep and suddenly we're attacked by cuttlefish. You never know. You never know, super friends. Other news number 3. Here we go. Scientists are finally able to use AI and dental x-rays to read a 300-year-old letter. So, letter locking. Letter locking was a tradition as far back as 1494. 1494. James Joseph just says, ha ha. Maybe we are aliens. I think that's what he's laughing about. I don't know. So as far back as 1494, there are letters that were folded in such a way that to open them would actually tear the letter. Yes, this was called letter locking. Letter locking was an art form for many centuries up until we had other methods of cryptography or encrypting messages. You've seen Greeks used to shave their head and tattoo a message on their head, grow their hair out, and travel to different spaces. There were all kinds of ways to hide a message. One way in the medieval ages and forward was letter locking. It's when you fold a letter and then to pull out one of the sleeves, it would tear the letter. And if you received a letter that was torn, you could trust that it had been read by somebody else. So how do we understand history without damaging these ancient documents? Well, a series of MIT scientists using a dental x-ray machine and a very simple algorithm basically use the x-ray to x-ray the letter at different layers. And they go through very micronic layers, very small layers, and they capture images of puzzle matching. The algorithm takes the images and reads the handwriting and starts to put the lines of the folds together. And as such, they've been able to unlock their first letter locking letter. Why does this matter? Well, to read history of letters traveling between people, we have over 160,000 documents in the Vatican alone dating back to the late 1400s. How much could we learn about history? How much could we learn about church history? How much could we learn about world history as a pope or cardinal's letters that should be traveling around the world remain locked and no one wanted to damage them? For the last 600 years, I think we could learn a lot about letter locking. And that is how artificial intelligence is now also helping history with letter locking, a fun, nifty application to how to actually learn more history. So that, my friends, is other news. Let's talk about the divine moment for mission. We're going to play a quick game, my friends, and I'm going to be watching for your answers. That game starts with this simple question: what does the number 371,520 mean to me? Yes, that's 371,520. What does that number mean to me? Let's move on. I'll answer the question at the end. Here we go. Number one, maybe you've heard of the Law of Hypnotic Rhythm. The Law of Hypnotic Rhythm was codified, I would say, by Napoleon Hill, who wrote a very famous book called Think and Grow Rich, but wrote a lesser-known book called Outwitting the Devil. And Napoleon Hill spends a good time of reframing who is the devil and what is the devil. Is it, James says, the number of days on earth? Good guess, but not exactly. That's his guess to my question: what does the number 371,520 mean to me? Good guess, but not exactly. And I'm sure that'll be enough clues for the rest of you. So the Law of Hypnotic Rhythm basically says that we actually end up in a habit to alleviate psychological pain. Basically, our lives can have so much monotony that we look for stasis and we look for habitual way to the point where we are unconsciously going through the motions. Let me give you a quick quote on this, and this is powerful. This is from the Christian athlete, Ben Greenfield, who's also been featured many times on Mind Valley. Ben Greenfield says this: the law of hypnotic rhythm dictates that you must listen to that 30-minute financial news podcast on your daily commute, even though every shred of your soul is craving to crank up the radio with rock music like you did when you were a carefree teenager. The law of hypnotic rhythm dictates that you must hit the weights at the gym, even though all those guys and gals out playing noon ball look like they're having way more fun, and that's what you would have done in college. Or the law of hypnotic rhythm says you must be the responsible person at the party, engaged in polite conversation in the corner, instead of just ripping moves on the dance floor like nobody's watching. The law of hypnotic rhythm is the thing that has you in a trance. And here's a link to that. I've got to go credit where credit is due. That comes from Ben Greenfield. The law of hypnotic rhythm is taking over our lives, and it is sacrificing your mission. It's eating it alive. Now, this is different than positive habits. Positive habits are actually really good habits that we're consciously engaged in. And the newness of a habit, the newness itself, is what helps you defeat hypnotic rhythm. In fact, once you have a habit of just running around the lake and you start doing it unconsciously, that's cool and you see the benefits physiologically, but are you giving it your all? The mission of Operation Find My Abs often falls to the wayside, even though you might have the fitness habit. The progress you make is when you're engaged with something new. Instead of a positive habit, hypnotic rhythm is a tactic to just endure psychologically painful situations that you face day in and day out. You see, our mission may be calling you to go out for a walk in the middle of the day, push-ups, to redirect, to ask for the day off, to just push through, do an appointment that you've just been avoiding. But the law of hypnotic rhythm causes you to just put in your headset and click in and disengage from that thought because the conflict is too psychologically painful. I want you to think about your goals real quick. The problem with goals and mission is that we're always thinking about the future. Now, I love the goals and I love thinking about the future, but the problem is when we compare the future to the present, that cognitive dissonance is what drives us to do more. But for many people, The cognitive dissonance is so much that it is painful, and that psychological pain draws them into hypnotic rhythm. And then they get further and further and further from their goals because they're not taking action. In fact, a lot of people who experience this, who cognitive dissonance being so painful that they go into hypnotic rhythm and they create a further distance, they actually stop setting goals. Have you met a person who stopped setting goals? I know I have. This is what is actually going on in their life. This is the thing that's causing them to quit. This is the very thing that's causing them to pull back. So I ask you, when is the moment for mission? When is the moment for you to engage? When's the moment that you're going to feel well enough? When's the moment that you're going to feel clear-headed enough? When's the moment that you're not going to feel psychological pain enough to engage like the early days of building a running habit? When is that moment that you won't have drudgery and monotony showing up in your inbox? That moment is never. Because we have a dual nature in us, and it's not like a sin nature and a reconciled nature. Not at all. The double nature is the desire for spontaneity and stability, the desire for stasis and stimulation. So the answer is just to get through this work in my inbox, I'm just going to hypnotize myself. And maybe I'll have a moment. Maybe I'll have a moment that I can come out of this and feel inspired and do the inspirational things and do the passionate things. When is that divine moment? And the answer is never. Never, my friends. The moment is never going to happen. So how can we not say no to our dreams and not just sleep the rest of our lives away? Entrancing ourselves. The government doesn't have to hypnotize us. The government doesn't have to oppress us. We'll do it to ourselves. As long as it's just comfortable enough to get at least half a DoorDash order ready to the door. And I say half because if you use DoorDash, you know it's only ever half the time that you actually get your full order. How often will we say no to ourselves? I'm going to challenge you today. I'm going to rile you up, and that's my goal. I'm going to pattern interrupt you like a Buddhist pattern interrupting his acolytes, because acolytes even getting caught into hypnotic rhythm on meditation like dhyana yoga, where you're so focused that you're disengaged from the world, like a pattern interrupt. I'm going to challenge you today to do the opposite of hypnotic rhythm today. Now, hypnotic rhythm, if you're aware of it, you can wield it. I know I wield it. I make sure I do mentally engaging things till about 11 or noon every day so that the world gets my best energy. And then I clock in, I do put my headset in, and I only do it between this hour and this hour, and it's my low energy day. I probably couldn't create breakthroughs even on my highest goals, but I make sure I work on the highest work. Not in hypnotic rhythm. I make sure that I work on the highest work, fully engage. Let's talk about how to engage it. I challenged you at the beginning of this talk. What does the number 371,520 mean? I'm not going to answer that yet. I will answer it. The second question I'm going to challenge you with, and I will answer this when I answer the other question, is this. The Google Glass prototype, without looking, without being my wife who knows the answer, with the Google Glasses, the virtual prototype, how long, how many days, how many months, how many years did it take them to come up with the first prototype? Guess, and I'll give you the answer at the end. James says, ooh, teaser. You betcha, my man. So first off, I want to tell you this. This is what I want to challenge you on. Now is the divine moment for your mission today, this minute. At least wait till the show's over. But after that, today, this moment is your divine moment. In Vipassana meditation, if we contrast this with dhyana yoga or dhyana meditation, which is a Hindu form of meditation, which is such a deep concentration, and the old yogis of yesteryear used to pride themselves that a snake could crawl across them and they wouldn't even be aware of it. A person could push them, and they were so entranced with the ether and the highest level, so disengaged from worldly connections that they wouldn't even notice. Shame on you. Now, that might have been a good building block of meditation. But in contrast to this is what comes out of Vipassana meditation, where you're anchored so deeply in the present, not so deeply in your mind's eye, but so deeply in the present that you notice everything. Vipassana meditation and self-awareness, these tools can help you be so centered in the moment that you don't meditate like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how big my inbox is. I'm absolutely petrified, so I'm going to escape with escapism. Stop it now. Vipassana meditation is the opposite. It's, I see you, and I own myself in this moment. I own my thinking. I own my blood rate. I own my heart rate. I own my stress levels. You don't own me. It's making deep eye contact, awkward eye contact with reality, and still not responding. It's watching and feeling the scales of the snake crawl across you without flinching. It's fully engaged. It's smelling the smells, seeing the sights, fully engaged. Now is the only moment you have. Vipassana meditation teaches this. Buddhism teaches this. It teaches Thich Nhat Hanh in Be Here Now. Synthesizes a lot of the Buddhist teachings and says, you can live the kingdom of heaven right here, right now. You can also live hell right here, right now. But you control that. Vipassana meditation. Buddhism teaches it. Taoism says this in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. Immersed in the wonder of the Tao, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready. The disengaged, the dhyana meditation, the escapism, you're already dead. I don't care if it looks good on Instagram. You're escaping reality and you have lost the game of life. But for those who are completely immersed in the wonder of the Tao, right here with your inbox here, as well as the woods out there, as well as surfing, as well as under the barbell at the gym, immersed in the wonder of the Tao, the way. Jesus Christ and Christians also called it the way. Immersed in the wonder of the way, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you're ready. That's in the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu in chapter 16. And then the book of Luke says the kingdom of heaven is nigh you. It's upon you. It's within you right now. What are you looking for? Some afterlife. Quit talking about that. You're stealing the present from your people. If the world's religions are teaching you that the kingdom of heaven is not somewhere else, that your mission is not in some far away place. Missions might be your desires of your heart to travel around the world, to surf in foreign waters and foreign breaks for the rest of my life, to not have to grind. Of course, I'm too smart for this. I'm too sexy. I sent Marissa a TikTok yesterday. I'm so sexy. Why am I still working? Why am I working if I'm this sexy? It's a funny little audio bit. But the truth is we all want these things, and those are the desires of our heart, and we have to make steps towards our goals. But the mission is presentness. That's how we win. We win the game of life not by enduring drudgery, but by looking at it the eyes and engaging it. Not by enduring drudgery, but by engaging it. If we are in hypnotic rhythm, we miss the gems of life. And we engage in hypnotic rhythm just to get through. Stop it. The moments that we build our positive self out of come when we engage everything around us. Drudgery, warts and all, but also stimulus. Terry, my mentor, used to say, don't let your highs be too high and your lows too low. I'm talking about just being yourself. And by highs and lows, I mean, don't get engaged. Don't be enduring the drudgery or the celebration or the over celebration, the kind of manic celebration people are trying to engage in. Be engaged in the moment and engage with yourself. Yourself. If you want to dance in the middle of the floor, then do it. If you want to shout out loud, then do it. Disrupt hypnotic rhythm. Be a pattern interrupter. Be a pattern interrupter. The Hagakure, a book of the samurai. Got it on my shelf right here. I read it nearly every day. By Yamamoto Tsunetomo, written in the 1400s, 1600s. He said this about samurai. There is surely nothing other than the single purpose of the present moment. The single purpose of the present moment. You're engaged in this moment and you are watching this show. Can you focus on this show? Now, if you don't want to focus on the show and you need to be doing something else, you need to turn the show off and go focus on that thing. Because the samurai taught, there is surely nothing other than the single purpose of this present moment. A man's whole life is a succession of pure moments after moments. There will be nothing else to do and nothing else to pursue in that moment. Live being true to the single purpose of the moment, and you can face death without fear. Can you give yourself to the thing you're doing? If you have to go to work at a bank today and you have to do deposits and withdrawals, can you do that fully engaged? Not hating it, not despising it. We only despise these things because they are the visual representation that we despise ourselves, because we do not allow ourselves to be our best, even in the monotony. And I have often asked people, if you cannot be your best in the monotony, how on earth are you expected to be your best when you are given a gift? When me and Marissa moved to the Dominican Republic and we gave ourselves that gift, we worked our butts off for it and moved to the Dominican Republic, I fully was confronted with the reality that I was not prepared to enjoy myself then too. We were fully confronted with, we were not mentally prepared. And I was challenged that I was not truly mentally in a moment of Zen where I knew how to engage what was in front of me. I only knew how to engage work and writing, but I was also then lost on how to engage in bliss, the ability to engage, being able to face death. Only by anchoring in the day, full frontal, facing what's in front of you, full frontal, facing the enemy, can you calmly and confidently navigate it to your mission. If you aren't hypnotic rhythm, you can't navigate anything. You're just doing the motions. And that means you're going to keep doing what you've always done, which means you're always going to get what you always got. But you got to do something different today with the monotony. You have to have a new experiment for the monotony. Because if you can experiment anew with the monotony by engaging it, looking it at the eyes, smacking yourself and interrupting the hypnotic rhythm and go, no, we're going to do something different with this today. We got to create a breakthrough. Why? Because I've got visions, I've got goals, and I am letting myself just do the clicking a little too long. That is how missions die. Missions do not die when corrupt warlords pull a coup on their country. Missions do not die when the government passes excessive stimulus bills that we can't afford. We're writing checks we can't cash. That's not how missions die. Missions do not die when someone gets pregnant in unexpected ways and has to get married early. Missions don't die when you run out of money. Missions die when you entrance yourself and refuse to break yourself out of your own story loops. That's how the mission dies. The enemy isn't a devil. It isn't the demonic. The enemy is a bland, neutral, unintentional living. Richard Feynman, the renowned physicist, said, I don't know what's wrong with people. They don't learn by understanding. They learn by some other way, by rote or habit or something, and their knowledge is fragile. Missions die when you go out there and say, I'm going to go do something good. But you have mistaken knowledge and something goes wrong. Something breaks. You do something wrong. You lose some money. You lose some friends. And suddenly you quit. You can't endure it because your experience is weak and you haven't been out there engaging frequently. You've been in a hypnotic rhythm. You might have even done some research. You formulated a plan, not even a hypothesis. You formulated a plan. You said, this is the way it is. And you went out and engaged and realized that's not the way it is. My knowledge of how to do missions was so fragile that when I showed up self-funded to the Dominican Republic, and I was confronted with several mental challenges, several internal challenges, My knowledge was so fragile. I'd never actually done this before. Even though I had 5 years on the ground doing missions trips to Haiti, living on the field was a whole other thing. And we should continue to engage it to develop resilience. We should move to the island again. Can we manage a business and do missions? And then let that experiment succeed or fail on its own merit. My knowledge was so fragile because of lack of stepping out. You need to practice one thing that scares you daily. To step out and build a thick skin. Really, it's not a thick skin from judgment. It's building an anti-fragile framework for experimentation. I tried this and it didn't work. Oh, well, move on. Instead of you burning yourself out, I have to make this work. This has to work, or I have to prove this person right or this person wrong. Stop it. Do an experiment. This experiment is not going to work. Let's actually do it this way. Great, but let's talk from experience. LBD, learn by doing, because your mission's moment is in not some faraway future. It's on the other end of enough experimentation that brings you enough experience. There's going to be a confluence of your goal. Your goal has several pillars. It has certain time, energy, and money. So basically, people, resources, and time all have to converge to make your dream a reality. If that's living in the Dominican Republic, if that's traveling the world, my business needs certain people, certain freedom of time, and certain financial resources. That's just what it will. That's every goal. Every project takes TEM, time, energy, and money. And energy really represents people and labor. And it will take that. It requires it. And how much will it take? The world doesn't actually know. I don't know. You don't know. The latest blogger doesn't know. We can only learn in today's moment because all the situations are shifting. So we have to keep experimenting until the dam breaks. And when does the dam break? When there's a confluence of time, energy, and money. Like, that's just what it takes. So when is your mission's moment? Yes, you're going to see a lot of the external manifestations at that faraway future moment. But the mission is here for you today. My friend, the mission is here for you today to be executing in an engaged way. You are on mission today if you are fully engaged, not disengaged, not in hypnotic trance, fully engaged at pushing the limits. So why is this important? If you can awaken to this moment, you will realize that this is the only moment. We often talk about Kairos time versus Chronos time, and we have Christianized it in our churches. I've done the same thing. But Kairos moment is where you lose track of time, not because of hypnotic rhythm, but because of full engagement to the thing at hand. You are completely aware of its dynamics. You might be unaware of some of the things going on around you, but there's an even higher way where you have almost a Bradley Cooper limitless purview of everything going on and fully engaged in the thing you're doing to make sure you're moving the mission forward. It's important because your mission is important. It's important because this minute will slip away. It's important because 317,520 hours left in my life has just shifted to 317,519. I gave you a unit of my life this morning, and you, in turn, gave me a unit of your life this morning. The mission demands that you go through as few of those 317,519 units as aware and as engaged as you possibly can. How long did it take for the first prototype of Google Glass? 1 day. They went out and did it with yarn and dry erase markers and a dry erase board. Go out and prop up. If it is a noodle and marshmallow version, if it is a sketched wireframe, please move your mission forward. If it's a text you have to that one mentor you think is out of reach because they're just a big baller and you're not, send the text. If it's client follow-ups and you're afraid that the relationship is sour because it's been so long since you haven't reached out, reach out. If it's a family member who you also have been reticent to reach out to, reach out. You've only got 317,519 hours left in your life. At least I do, based on the averages. Please dehypnotize yourself slap yourself on the cheeks, wake yourself up, and engage with this world. Listen, if you need any support at all, please feel free to visit us at stateofthespark.com. Or if you want to carry forward any conversation like this, visit us in the Goals and Gratitude group. But no matter what you do, please remember the mission. Igniting lives of explosive significance. Start.